For what I wish to talk of is the attitude of the American citizen in civic life. It ought to be examined in this country that every man must devote a reasonable share of his time to doing his duty in the political life of the community. That is an excerpt by Theodore Roosevelt in his speech, The Duties of the American Citizen. Theodore Roosevelt believed that American citizenship is a right that must be earned, maintained, and protected. And according to taxandpurpose.com, Theodore Roosevelt laid down what he believed what people should and should not do and the values that they must possess in order to be a good citizen of the United States. So Theodore Roosevelt was a military leader, a politician, and an environmental activist. He created the United States Forest Service and created the wildlife refugee system. And over his life, he saved over 400 million acres of land and made them into wildlife parks and also refugee areas. And many of the places that he protected are still known today and are very popular, like the Grand Canyon. Okay, and so why he loved the outdoors so much that he was also an avid hunter. And kind of a fun fact is that the teddy bear was named after him. After a hunting trip he went on with his friends, he agreed to not shoot a bear that was tied to a tree because he said that it was unsportsmanlike and unfair. In 1983 or 89, he worked as a assistant secretary in the Navy, but decided to quit, and that's when he started the first volunteer cavalry in the Spanish-American War. He's also very known for being the youngest president ever to be for the United States. At the time, he was only 42 years old, and he became president in 1901 after the assassination of President McKinley, but then later would win another 4 years on his own off of his own merit. So Theodore Roosevelt was a big patriot. He gave his historic speech, Duties of the American Citizen, in Buffalo, New York in 1883, January 22nd. It was a time after the Civil War where there was still a physical and political dividedness between the Confederate and Union lines. And he laid out what was important and what was expected by the American citizens to be their responsibility in the government and political systems. So his words were very powerful then, and 134 years later, they're still very powerful, and there's a lot of stuff that we can learn from them. The United States has a historically low voter rate, and according to ethos3.com, in 2016, the unofficial data showed that only about half of our population voted and engaged into the voting for the next political president. And that is something that's still important today with his speech, because he shows what is important about becoming an American, about being a citizen of the United States, and what is expected of you. Over a century later, the heart of Roosevelt's speech, saying that every citizen has a responsibility to engage in the political process, still holds true. In a democracy such as ours, it is necessary that the men and women play a role in our government and help it succeed in the future. And as Roosevelt said in his speech, the people who say that they have not the time to attend to politics are simply saying that they are unfit to live in a free community. Thank you.